Hosted by who/thelegend-awesome. What are some government secrets that have been declassified that most people still don't know about? How they are using all the personal data they're mining from us. That's easy. You're being profiled, evaluated, and scored for your political reliability, religious beliefs, social responsibility, and your gullibility. Orwell was right. Time to visit room 101. Scarily, that all we've got to go on at the minute though. It'll be revealing to see what else they've put in place since the Snowden leak. Although a threat level of close to zero in the grand scheme of things, so I'm good, I reckon. We fornicate up the Castle Bravo test. For those who don't know, the Castle Bravo test was the largest nuclear explosion ever produced by the United States. The short and sweet is that we packed the explosive components in with a bunch of benign substance. The benign substance was an isotope of the explosive poop. So the ratio was like %60 of the active element and %40 inactive. We didn't know that if you blast the inactive isotope with enough energy, it transforms itself into the active isotope. We made the explosion much bigger than intended, and it almost killed the skeleton crew in the observation bunker. We estimated beforehand that the explosion would be somewhere in between 4 MGT and 8 MGT. 8 being the scary big end of the spectrum. It was 15 freaking megatons. This description is horribly all over the place in accuracy. The explosive components, that is deuterium, was stored with 60% lithium-6, 40% lithium-7. The idea is that lithium-6 absorbs a neutron and breaks down into helium and tritium, and the tritium is used as fuel for fusion, and the lithium-7 absorbs a neutron, breaks down into helium. The issue was the lithium-7 absorbed a neutron and became tritium, helium, and a neutron. This jacked up the number of neutrons flying around, as well as the amount of fusion occurring, which also increased the number of neutrons. The issue stems from this. To hold together a fusion weapon long enough for an explosion to occur, you need to wrap the bomb in something strong that reflects neutrons back towards the reaction. U-238 is well suited for this, since it is dense and unlikely to absorb enough neutrons to start a chain reaction. Plus there is a lot of it lying around from refining weapons grade uranium. It is unlikely to contribute in a significant way to the yield, unless you expose it to a very high neutron flux. Like, for example, if 40% of your fusion fuel starts unexpectedly emitting an extra neutron. Because then your fusion reaction is wrapped with thousands of pounds of fission bomb core. This kills the atoll. I'm just waiting until the JFK case is declassified. Because it sure as hell wasn't Magneto's fault. Of course not, it was the comedian. I really want to say Billy Bat, but I know I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure JFK was assassinated by JFK when some time traveling smeghead screwed up the timeline. A response from a thread I found about almost the same thing. Thought it might apply. The exceptions are part of the classification. At the bottom of all classified documents, you are required to mark the declassify on block, which can be a date declassify on the 27th of March 2029 or one of the exceptions. X's to wit. An item is exempt from declassification at the 10-year point if its release would X1. Reveal an intelligence source, method, or activity, or a cryptologic system or activity. X2. Reveal information that would assist in the development or use of weapons of mass destruction. X3. Reveal information that would impair the development or use of technology within a United States weapons system. X4. Reveal United States military plans or national security emergency preparedness plans. X5. Reveal foreign government information. X6. Damage relations between the United States and a foreign government. Reveal a confidential source, or seriously undermine diplomatic activities that are reasonably expected to be ongoing for a period greater than 10 years. X7. Impair the ability of responsible United States government officials to protect the president, the vice president, and other individuals for whom protection services, in the interest of national security, are authorized. X8. Violate a statute, treaty, or international agreement. Cite classification marking guide. I had to learn these to mark classified documents. The bolding above is my own, and is how I referred to these exemptions shorthand. For instance, when someone asked what's X1 again, the answer was sources and methods. Anything marked X1, for example, could remain classified for as long as the source or method used to collect that information was believed to be important. If we had, for example, used a telepath to invade Khrushchev's mind in the 1960s, then as long as we believed that source or method to be useful, for example, if we thought we had a shot at using telepaths again, as long as the enemy weren't aware of our attempts to do so, then we could keep all of those documents X1 indefinitely. If Poland assassinated JFK because they mistook him for an enemy of the state and then confessed to it when they joined NATO, it would become X5 or X6 and could remain so indefinitely. If there's a secret tunnel JFK used to get out of the White House and its location is still unknown, that tunnel's location is and will be indefinitely X7. One last note, documents are never just listed by their exemption. The location of the tunnel might be marked confidential //X7. The telepath papers might be top secret //Clydesdale //X1, X3, X5. Good luck getting the latter declassified. Wireless transmission of audible voices into the skulls of human beings. Accomplished decades ago. Glimpses of weapons based on this technology have been uploaded and quickly pulled down from military websites. The army calls it V2K for voice to skull, also referred to as voice of God weapon. Abu Zubaydah, SP, was waterboarded, Ike, 83 times, but that didn't get him talking. What did was a visitation in his cell from Allah, who spoke to him and told him his cooperation would make things easier on the other brothers. Operation Northwoods. The U.S. was going to bomb its own cities, blame it on Cuba and declare war. Edit. Certain personnel wanted to create a false flag operation. From what I was told, it wasn't to bomb the cities, so. However, Kennedy pretty much said fornicate, no, you're not doing that. Furthermore, he removed Lemnitzer as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff after. Edit. Jesus fornicate people, I get it, he got shot. Making a 10th comment about it is unnecessary at this point. That the US granted various high-ranking Nazis a place in our society in return for various services. Some guilty of war crimes were among them. Yep. Wernher von Braun was a high-ranking SS officer. He designed the V2 rocket that decimated London and used slave labor from local concentration camps to build them. But we all know him as the chief designer of the Saturn V rocket, which took NASA's Apollo program astronauts to the moon 6 times. When American Indian Movement, AIM, protesters occupied the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA, headquarters in 1972, they found secret documents that some native women had been sterilized without their knowledge or consent. More people need to know this. Genocide by America really isn't acknowledged like it should be. Also Canada. The US caused the death of the world's first commercial satellite, Telstar, only a few months after it was launched. We set off a nuclear blast in space, 5, actually, and that blast, Starfish Prime, created an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, that killed Telstar, which was placed in orbit the day after the test. The EMP effects energized the Earth's magnetic field long enough to cause the satellite to die on orbit. The Gov didn't tell AT&T what happened until around 2005 or so. Whoops, our bad, sorry. During WWII, Stalin warned the Japanese that the US was planning on bombing Formosa, practically giving away our plans to invade the Philippines. He didn't want the war to end too soon, as it would cut down on the territories he could conquer and claim for the USSR. There actually were chemical weapons found in Iraq during the First and Second Gulf War, which resulted in Saddam's execution. The government was too embarrassed to admit it at the time because it helped in the production of those chemical weapons. Edit. Source. The US government allowed criminals to buy weapons from gun stores and transport them to Mexico. Also parts to make grenades. These guns have killed, at least, over 200 people, including a US Border Patrol agent. Eric Holder was forced to release over 60,000 pages of documents last night, not getting a lot of attention though because of the elections. They also then prosecuted the gun shop owners and stripped them of their licenses for selling the weapons. The cat bomb. the US Office of Strategic Services decided that the best way to ensure that their bombs reached the intended naval targets was to strap them to cats and drop the cats from planes with parachutes. It was believed that the cats would naturally avoid the water and direct their payload to enemy decks. The project was declared a failure because no way was found to stop the cats from fainting in mid-air. Edit. Before anyone else decides to inform me, yes, I know about the bat bomb. It's just not as unbelievable as the cat bomb, which is even sort of funny to say. Thanks to Batman, bat bomb doesn't sound nearly as far-fetched. Edit 2. Since people still aren't getting the message, stop telling me about the damn bat bomb. Project MKULTRA. During the Cold War, the CIA initiated Project MKULTRA, a secret and illegal human research program to investigate potential mind control systems. The program's operators examined the effects of hypnosis, biological agents and drugs, such as LSD and barbiturates, on human subjects. Some historians suggest the program was designed to develop a mind control system that could be used to program the brains of potential assassins. There are a number of secrets from WW2, and after that have been declassified yet few know about. Most involve things like troop movements, etc. It may seem weird to only declassify them decades later, but the fact is military doctrine changes very slowly, and even something as simple as a janitorial supply list can give a good estimate of the number of personnel in an area. Area 51. Tested MiGs, stealth tech, used it to evaluate US recon satellites and screw around with the Ruskies. After WWII, the United States gave immunity to Shiro Ishii, the Japanese army medical officer responsible for lethal human experimentation and biological warfare projects. He performed so many horrible acts on POWs in Unit 731, just to see what would happen. Seriously, his unit conducted physiological experiments on human subjects, including vivisections, forced abortions, and simulated strokes, heart attacks, frostbite and hypothermia. American scientists decided this information was invaluable, and he was never tried for his crimes. He was given immunity in exchange for his information on chemical and biological warfare. From some flying magazine, the SR-71 was introduced in 1966, at a time in which commercial aircraft were pretty much limited to 25-30 feet altitude, maximum. There was a very junior air traffic controller, bored out of his mind, minding a ATC center somewhere in the heartland. Now, he frequently handled unscheduled changes in altitude. Pilots would call them in, and he'd routinely grant the change. This evening, he gets a call. Northfield ATC, this is Rainbird 27, requesting altitude 50,000. Controller, okay, Rainbird 27, if you can get up to 50k, you can have it. Rainbird 27, roger that, descending to 50k. Thanks and good night. The U.S. Army SL1 Nuclear Accident. The SL1 was a low-power test reactor in Idaho. They shut the reactor down for the holidays. On January 3, 1961, 3 guys went in to power it back up after coming back from vacation. Part of the startup required they reconnect the control rods to the mechanism that raises and lowers them in the pile. To do this, they needed to manually raise the rods a few inches, grab the rod assembly by hand and lift it. For some reason which isn't clear, the reactor operator who was lifting one of the rods suddenly lifted one of them almost 2 feet too far, probably because it was stuck, and he was pulling hard on it, and it broke free. This caused the reactor to immediately go critical and superheat the coolant water, causing a steam explosion and blasting the shield plugs out of the top of the reactor. Also not clear is why the shift supervisor was standing on top of the reactor at the time. He was found impaled by one of the shield plugs in the concrete ceiling of the reactor room. The explosion killed the operator instantly. The third participant survived the blast and was found in the reactor room by rescuers, but later succumbed to his injuries. The reactor melted down. The site was buried and abandoned.
Just wanted to say a big thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate your support. If you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button. If you want to see more from us, click on the screen right now to watch our next video. See you guys soon.